It could be a lightning thunderstorm, could be just a blackout. It could be anything from fire, which we've had quite a few of this last month. It could be any time of year. It requires planning and thinking in order to be able to overcome things like a flood. And because the supermarkets only have 3 days of food in advance or thereabouts, it's going to be a problem restocking them. So I don't want to join the hordes that will be walking out into what will be a wasteland in search of food. So that's sort of how I got started on creating a pantry that would help me cope with being cut off by floods. In the background was the fact that it was going to be a 110k round trip to the supermarket when I retire, and in terms of growing my own food, yeah, that's fine, but sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So I recognise the need for store-bought goods as well, so I started building up a bit of a pantry. The emergency websites here in Australia say I need about 3 litres of water a day per person, and recommend 10 litres to get you through 3 days as being your standard thing. And then 3 days worth of food. That means 3 days of breakfast, 3 days of lunch, 3 days of dinner, and snacks in between. Not to mention your comfort foods, your beverages like coffee, tea. The websites don't mention anything about alcohol, but for a number of people that's important. Anyway, I did my 3 days and then I extended it to 30 days, and then I did it to 90 days. And then I leapt from there to a concerted effort of doing 12 months. But let's just have a look at some pantry math. What is required for setting up 12 months of food for one person? So if you're a family of 4, multiply all of this by 4. So it's one thing to do quick and easy things like ramen noodle, frozen pizza, but you want something that's going to be a little bit more substantial in the long term. You might get away with those for one meal, and even with using up your veggies. If it's been a blackout, then you still need to have your propane, your gas bottle, for your barbecue, or some way of cooking it. My 30-day and 3-month pantry has a whole lot more things in the way of cans, and it's not just instant things like cup of soup. So cup of soup, noodles, yeah, that'll get you through the first little bit, but do you really want to have 3 breakfasts, 3 lunches and 3 dinners of noodles and soup? I don't think so. So it requires a little bit more than that. So it's grown from 10 litres of water to 900 litres of water. I've gone from a little container to one of those 1,000 litre totes. Anyway, that's what I'm going to need, plus a few cans of ham, to go with the spaghetti for my pasta, and the extended shelf life cream, and I have got a nice meal that doesn't seem like an emergency. So before we get to pastas and meat dishes, 7 options for breakfast is my target. So what we're looking at is 7 things that I can rotate round so that 4 times a month I can have one of each of these, or that's 12 times in the 90 days. So what about morning tea, afternoon tea? A few things to consider there, and vacuum packed cookies even. So lunch and dinner, interchangeable. Pasta, spaghetti, fettuccine, lasagna, macaroni, pasta shells, all sorts of options there. Mixed with chicken, beef, lamb that I've canned, dehydrated veggies, canned tomatoes for the sauce, all sorts of options. Beef, lamb, chicken with mashed potato and veg. Several options for the evening meal. And what I didn't mention earlier in terms of lunches and snacks, with the homemade bread, the canned lamb and some relish, canned beef and some relish, canned chicken and some homemade mayo, if I've got chickens that are laying eggs at the time. So I think I'll wrap it up there and see what your comments are, and hope you enjoyed it. Bye for now.